You're listening to Were You Still Talking? All right, welcome to another podcast. This is Were You Still Talking? And this is Joel Albrecht. In my studio today, I have Robin Murphy, otherwise known as Twotonemurphy, an absolutely incredible guest. Sorry I've been away for so long, but things happen. And a lot about what's been happening, we're kind of going to talk about in a way. Murph is a 30-something-year-old flight simmer and content creator hailing from Dublin, Ireland, and currently based in County Tipperary. He live streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, showcasing Microsoft Flight Simulator and a few other bits and bobs. Most of you who listen to this will probably know him because I don't know who else is going to listen to the podcast. He focuses on general aviation aircraft. The community of the Twotonemurphy Flying Circus was established, linking like-minded people together to share in their passion of aviation and flight simulation. Whether you are a brand new to flight simulation or a seasoned veteran, we hope you enjoy your time with the community of Fireflies. That's straight from his website. Absolutely amazing streamer. So great to have him on my podcast. Murph, how's it going today? What is up?
Joel, how are you? What an introduction. I mean, who is this guy? I want to watch this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. It's a super pleasure to be here. This is quite unique and new for me. So, yeah, excited and nervous at the same time.
I just figured you'd done thousands of these since you basically have this on your stream, which is one of the greatest parts about the stream, the Murph Line. It's, that is a podcast. It's great.
I tried to do podcasts before because it's a fantastic medium. You know, they bridge the gaps perfectly in your life between, it could be a commute, it could be your daily kind of chill out or your daily get your information. So I didn't have the patience for a podcast. I was like, I want to fly the planes and talk. So I listen to podcasts all the time. With my daytime job, I have a 2-hour commute daily, so there's always plenty of room there for listening to podcasts. But with the Murph Line as well, getting to chat to people, that's the ultimate, isn't it? I mean, like you get to meet new people, find out what they're about. It's really, really amazing.
It really is. It is. I've just been shocked by it. I mean, I started this almost 2 years ago now, and it's almost, the only thing that's taken over is the flight simulation. Twitch streaming the flight sim. Flights with Joel on Twitch, by the way. And it's really, it's kind of the same thing, but I'm getting to talk to many people all over the world, every day. So it's just incredible. It really, and the podcast is that. Just being able to talk to people in my own community and everywhere that do things, so different than I do. Their lives are completely different. It's always an eye opener every time. Finding out just their lifestyle compared to mine. It's so much fun. So the big question I have, and I think the world has, and I really had I think I've kind of discovered the answer to this over the last 12 months. But 12 months ago, this was a big question in my mind. What the heck is Twitch?
It sprang up overnight. It's very different, isn't it? And
it is
as an entertainment medium. I mean, in Ireland, we talk about podcasts and getting the chance to interact with a global audience. I mean, my perspective within Ireland, we would view the UK or the United States being, these guys, that's where it's at. They're heavily connected. These guys are used to reaching out to a global audience. So to be able to do it in Ireland, it feels kind of strange because we're only a small little island, but it works. And with a platform like Twitch, whereby conventional TV, if there is such a thing, I mean, you have your sitcoms, they tell you what's on, when it's on. You just got to arrive on the day at that time and you can watch what they're going to show you. And that's it. I mean, you watch it, you listen to the story, you are a passenger in it. With Twitch, it's very, very different. Okay, the content creator, they'll devise some sort of schedule, but it's a two-way conversation. There's interaction there. I mean, you're pretty much talking to the anchor of like a news show. It's like, hey, I don't agree with that story, or I have an experience to share with that story. And now it's the weather. It's incredible to have that level of interaction, and I think that's what's changed over the last kind of couple of years, because conventional TV, the mindset has completely changed. It's all now, people want things on demand. They want to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it. And with Twitch being its own platform to focus on live streaming, which pretty much started off, with gaming. And it was weird. Right, it was like, it was like this, reality TV show. You're watching people in a house, watching people play video games in a house. It didn't make much sense, but it makes total sense. You have that interaction. There's community. There's friends. It's the entertainment value alone. It's fantastic. And for me and yourself, I mean, we both do live streaming. It's an incredibly rewarding thing to do because you have that level of interaction. And it is very much a chilled out, relaxed atmosphere. It's not like you're trying to provide the halftime show for a global thing. It's like-minded individuals will come along, they'll join your stream, they'll either like your content or not, like you or not, but by and large, those who keep coming back, well, you're doing something right. And you get to share then, I suppose, your passion with what they like as well. It's incredible.
It is really something. And yeah, Twitch is it's grown to something completely different. It wasn't that long ago that I heard about people watching gaming online, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Why would somebody sit down and watch someone else play a game? And now I'm the guy playing It's not a game. It's not a game.
You got to be so careful. It's a game. No, it's a simulator. No, it's a game simulator.
A simulator. It's not a game. I just added the it's not a game sound blurb, and people use that a lot.
It's crazy. And again, hilarious. Regarding on the platform that you have, and for us it's definitely with flight simulators, but there's other games, I suppose, that could be simulators, and then there's other simulators that could be games as well. So there's a lot of choice out there,
There's a lot of choice. And I mean, we are in a very small market. The flight simulator thing is, when I look at, okay, well, what goes on and, what's going on in the rest of the world? Because I really don't watch other gamers. I only watch the simulation stuff. Mm-hmm. And when I look at the other things people are doing, it's amazing. It's not interesting to me, but it's amazing how big an audience they're getting, largely making fools of themselves. Very little to do with the game, right? It's largely to do with what can I plug into this and make it more ridiculous? And I don't know. It's just nuts. It's nuts.
It's a whole load of crazy, and I think that's ultimately the internet is there for that. It's crazy. There's industry built behind esports. There's there's so many different things, and what we do in flight simulation, I mean, that's a niche within a niche, and there's a couple of more niches down. Then you'll find us. We're hidden away in there somewhere. But I think when it comes to, I suppose, what we do with our hobby, which is flight sim, I mean, that whole sphere, that whole genre exploded in the last 2 years. And prior to that, there was maybe a handful of content creators. There was maybe a handful of different communities. You had the other platforms with P3D and with X-Plane. But ever since Microsoft released their own sim, this new one, the amount of new streamers is incredible. There are now so many. And even, within our own communities, we know and watch the same people, which is kind of strange, because go back 2.5 years, it was like, there's no one really streaming much. It's incredible what's happened.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, even with the other platforms like YouTube, the videos for the Microsoft stuff are so much bigger. They're getting so much bigger audience, it seems like, than the older, the P3D and the X-Plane stuff and all that. It's interesting. It really exploded. And how did you find? Do you remember how you even came on Twitch? Were you already gaming on there? Were you doing? Grand Theft Auto, and then you switched?
I was very late to the party on Twitch. I've tried to stream other games. They didn't work out terribly well, But no, I started off streaming X-Plane stuff, Laminar Research's X-Plane, because I was making a couple of videos. So, I was inspired by the likes of, say, Q8 Pilot, and there was a guy, Thomas Rasmussen, and they used to make kind of movie-type trailers for the add-ons for the simulators.
Oh, yeah.
It could be aircraft or scenery or whatever. And I was just like, this looks fantastic. I want to do something like that. Yes, I can do that. Surely it's going to be easy. I just need to do it. So I started off trying to make a couple of videos and really getting into the craft of, creating a video, getting the right soundtrack to it. And it was all new to me. And I found in doing that, I was really enjoying that. I mean, capturing the content and the editing, which I still do. I love all of that. It's so very different to live streaming. Live streaming is, for me, it's relatively straightforward now. I mean, I'm liable to make a complete fool of myself, but I'm okay with that. It's I've gotten over that hurdle. But for me, it's pretty much, hit the go live, do a bit of background planning, but then once we go live, that's it. Let's see what happens. With the video, you have a lot of control there, but it needs so much prep. And if you make a mistake, you can edit that out. You can be just
right.
This is a top dollar production versus, the stream is all right. There is a bit of that. But so when I started doing the videos, I was like, hang on, I should probably do a stream. And I did a stream. I adjusted voice to build up the confidence. And I had like one viewer. And I was like, oh my gosh, here's one viewer. This is it. It's happening, So I'm flying along and like, and I did the whole spiel,
Oh, yeah.
The advice is keep talking. Even if there's no one watching, you just keep talking. It's going to be good. And, towards the end of the stream, I was like, okay, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you again soon. And I was like, wow, I had one viewer. Who was that? It was a bot.
Oh, it was a bot. See,
artificial intelligence just checking on my analytics for the channel. I was like, but
it took me about 3 streams to realize that one viewer was me watching it I was watching it on a laptop. So I was checking the stream. Oh, wait a minute. That's who that viewer is. Oh, well, I'll do it again later.
Yeah, I've made a friend. And so a couple of more streams down the line. And again, it's not trying to be different because, you would see that as being a good thing, but having your own perspective on something different, I think, is a good combination. So at the time, there was a huge gap with anyone focused on the general aviation stuff. I mean, or at least most of the content prior to Microsoft Flight Sim, it was all on the airline flight. It was all the transatlantic aircraft. Some of the longer routes in the heaviest of aircraft you can get, A380s, and that was pretty much it. And I was thinking, there's not an awful lot for the general aviation and that style of flying whereby keep it low, keep it slow. And the reason for that was, well, the simulators didn't really allow for it because, there was ways to make your sim look fantastic. You would download satellite imagery, but then the buildings would look off, or the trees, they came straight out of what's that called? Minecraft. Like it wasn't compelling enough. And then Microsoft dropped this trailer at a games convention. So you're thinking, hang on, a flight sim has never gotten this level of exposure before. Suddenly, Microsoft turned on the switch to say, by the way, there is such a thing as a flight simulator for so many hundreds of thousands of people who never would have thought these were possible because as big as the marketing would have been for the likes of, Laminar and P3D, they never would have got this sort of an audience, at least, not since FSX was out. So then I started looking at the videos thinking, hang on, these guys are focusing on creating an entire world. It's the flight sim, at least to me, the simulation of flying, that was almost like a secondary product. These guys are focused on, this is like the entire world, 1-to-1 size, and it's going to be accurate. So the little light bulb that flickered above my head, I was like, hey, here's an idea. So maybe there's something here with the GA flying, and that's it. We now have a sim or a game, depending on what way you view it. But certainly, the entire world is there, and no one can deny that. They've done an incredible job how it's built, and you can literally fly to a virtual somewhere, and it's going to give you the most accurate rendition of it on any other platform currently in existence, which is amazing. So, yeah, that's what kind of started the community and the channel, because we now had a something or a somewhere to go, and it looked so much more better than anything else that was there before it. So I think really since then, everything kind of just went upwards and outwards, and all sorts of carnage and craziness kind of followed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many people who you have inspired, myself being one of them. You've inspired a lot of other people to start streaming. I wasn't even thinking about how it opened up for GA so much, because I've always been in the GA aircraft. Never really cared about tube liners, because for me, it's more, it's about helicopters.
Yeah,
and if I'm not in a helicopter, I like to go a little slower, a little lower, sometimes fast and low. We like that too. But, it's fun to look at the scenery. And it's always been, I won't even say how much I've spent because it's embarrassing. But for X-Plane and P3D, you had to put a lot of scenery in there to start to make it look like maybe half as good as what we have now that just comes in the sim. It's absolutely, it's mind-boggling. And when I thought, when I started streaming, and I've been thinking this, well, what am I going to do when I run out of places to go? Not even close. The entire
world is there,
Yeah, not even close. You don't cover much in 3 hours at, 120 knots. You don't cover much. So it's absolutely amazing.
But even the innovation, that's been shown to us now, whereby, with the other simulators, you needed external hard drives on top of external hard drives, on top of even more of them. Like, you needed a lot of external hard drives to kind of store and download all of your scenery. I mean, you're essentially downloading high resolution photos that, the sim has a program that very, smartly just kind of puts them on top of mesh that's within the framework of the sim. With Microsoft, however, you don't need that because they use their own servers to live stream you. It's cloud computing, so it's just streamed directly to your own computer. That in itself is a game changer because it now changes the cost of entry to a platform. Whereby, if you wanted to start out on something like X-Plane, that, it ticks all its boxes that it's trying to tick in terms of, the flight modeling and the systems modeling and all of these things. However, if you wanted to look more compelling or more realistic visually, you needed to invest quite a bit. It might have to come to the aircraft, it might come onto the scenery, weather injection, textures, all of these different things. And P3D, that was even worse. For either of us, I would say confidently, for either of us to get P3D up to a level that we would be comfortable in terms of how it looks and our control, it's easily got to be $1,000 just to start. So with Microsoft, they're like, it's like Microsoft are like, here's $60 and go nuts, and it's fantastic.
And it's crazy because I heard people like kind of griping about the price early on. And I picked up my copy of Flight Simulator FSX Deluxe, from 10 years ago. It was $80. I was like, you guys are getting this free. This is like nothing. And if you weren't junkies like myself, I'm an aircraft junkie and now a free scenery junkie. But if you weren't that, you can get in the 172 and fly across the world like Captain Arash, and you don't have to get anything else. You really don't. It's not necessary, to get the experience.
You can use the sim in its absolute vanilla state. And, Sony Gaming does the very same. Here's two very different, and this is what I love about it. They're two very different styles of production, I suppose, yet they're kind of doing something similar. They're both traveling around the world in Cessnas, and it's we know both of them, and it's fantastic, and they're doing their own thing. And again, from a content perspective, I think, is there maybe an advantage to people who are into the whole flight simulation, because we now have the entire planet to explore. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're exploring things, be it on a general aviation level that you're going to be looking at scenery, or even the airliner stuff. You're going to be, recreating the famous point-to-point routes that are there, or the routes that are there. And even the transatlantic ones or some of the longer ones. It's all there. You're not going to run out of content anytime soon because, the whole planet's there. So like, if you would compare that to other games, they're quite linear, whereby, well, not all of them, but some of them would be quite linear because, we're going to do the same thing again. And, people might say, yeah, but you're still flying. Yeah, you're still flying, but like the difference of aircraft and the different styles you need to apply and the different skills you need. And I'm only talking about the one type of aircraft, which would be fixed wing, which would be your general aviation. It either has a propeller or even a jet. Then if you want to go into something like the airliners, that's a very different discipline. Or if you want to go for, gliders or microlights, that's a very different discipline. And then what you're doing with the choppers, that is so different. It's like the skills required there, I get confused and dizzy. It's just like, hang on, how is he? Yeah, I understand how it's moving, but like, how does he do it so well? Like there's all of that.
Do you remember Flight Simulator 98?
I do.
Well, that's where I started. It's
the Bell 206, I think. Was that?
Yeah, Bell 206. And there was this amazing website called Hover Control. And they had rankings, and you could get your simulated helicopter license. And the people teaching it though were actual pilots. They were like real world pilots. And then so that's really how it's purely, I have 30 minutes in a real helicopter, the rest is simulator. And that's another amazing, whole nother amazing thing about it. And where did you come from any kind of broadcast background? This is what I always wonder when I see you, because your show is like so, I don't know, it's entertaining. There's a lot there, and and you have this, like today, I feel like I'm meeting Murph. And, I see Twotonemurphy on the Twitch. This is Twotonemurphy, and you have this very energetic and obviously appealing character that you go to. So did you have broadcast stuff coming in? No. Nothing.
Zero. Wow. Nada. Nothing. It's, like everything, too much of me is a bad thing. It's like, oh God, I can't deal with this guy. So like there is an element of that. But no, like I found, when I started off, go back a year and a bit when I was just starting off. I was not as, I wasn't as comfortable. And by that, I mean, you have to kind of evolve into what you're doing. And you have to, once you have enough, I suppose, experience or understanding, you get more relaxed. And it's only when you're truly relaxed, well, then you're being yourself. You're trying to be yourself in an environment whereby you're not relaxed. You come across as I did a year ago. It's like, hello, I said a lot. I kept saying or I said, because I didn't know what to say. And I was trying to do things by the book. And that doesn't work for my character at all. I'm not like that. I behave and I follow rules, sure. But like, if I'm going to cut the grass, I don't do the checklist for the lawnmower as per the manufacturer's recommendations. I'm like, okay, is there gas in it? Grand, pull the thing and away we go. That's it. So yeah, there's an element of that. And I'm glad I mentioned the lawnmower. People think I don't do anything, which I don't. I really don't. Manual labor, it doesn't suit me. My skin is way too soft for that, but I just thought I'd get it in there so I can connect with people. Yes, I know the lawnmower. Yes, we've all had to do it.
Yes, I've mowed the lawn. I know where it is.
Yeah,
I know where it is.
It lives in the shed.
It's out there.
Yeah, I'm not welcome in there. There's things in there that'll hurt me, so I keep my distance. But
I have to say, when you said that on your stream one time about how when I first started, I was very serious, and you said there's videos on YouTube if you want to see, and of course I jumped right over to YouTube. So I appreciate that there's still an example there that helps new streamers or new people that are new to it, like myself. I also appreciate that Twitch dumps everything after 60 days. So I'm kind of like, well, it's not going to be there forever.
But again, like that's the thing. Like there are those who would consider, what I enjoy. People would consider that as potentially risky for a business. They're, Murph, you're encouraging more competition. It doesn't sound right. Are you sure you want to do that? And yes is the answer, because put it this way. there are individuals, and there's nothing wrong with either or. You know, there are individuals who are very much, no, this is my style, this is what I'm doing, and that's it. You know, I don't want you copying me. I don't want you to do anything like me. This is what I do, therefore no one else should do, which is fair enough. But I think the way the world is, and the more and more people transition from, you know, the old age of TV into the more modern mediums, if you like, which is the live engagement.
Right.
It needs more people. And for me, I'm one of those people, and I had to start from somewhere. I used the resources of the internet to learn about it. You know, there's plenty of YouTube channels to figure things out. And then there's people. You just work with people. And if anyone even listening, if you have that urge that you think, I'd really like to do this, you know, I'd want to give it a go, just give it a go. Just try it. You know, it's not going to be for everyone. There is a bit of, you know, late night and early morning thinking that has to happen to try and figure out and steer the ship, as it were. But by and large, if you enjoy what you're doing, it'll never feel like it's work. It'll never feel like a job, because you're doing your hobby. And for me, like, flight simming is a hobby, don't get me wrong, but I'm more looking forward to interacting with people and having a chat and catching up with them by doing so within a broadcasting style, I suppose, whereby, you know, I can turn on a live stream where I can engage with people on Discord. That's what I love. That is it. And the flight sim is almost now a byproduct of that, which is amazing. But yeah, I think anyone if you even have the slightest bit of interest of trying to do it, don't ever wait for the time that you're ready to do it, because people, no, I just want to learn a bit more and then I'll just do it. Start now, because I promise you, and people always say this, but I promise you, if you do it and you like it and you stick with it, and you're still doing it after 6 or 12 months, you will listen back or watch back to the earliest work that you've done. And at the time you thought, you know, you felt proud of it. You thought, that was brilliant. A year later, you'd be like,
no.
Oh my, no. Why did this happen? Who let this happen? Why is this video out there? It needs to disappear. You know, and it's great seeing that as well. It's cringe, but it's great to see it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, you got to learn, right? You got to learn, which is, I've seen some people that are wanting to stream and they're like, well, I don't have 2 cameras and I've only got 1 computer. I don't even have 2 monitors. And I started with nothing. I had no camera that would work. You know, very small system. I was watching the chat on a laptop because I didn't have a second monitor. So I'm like, whatever. This is probably going to be fun. And yeah, now it's grown into something I never expected. I never had any idea I would be, just as you said, planning flights, you know, for like every day there's something to do with the thing. And I'm like, this is nuts, which is why which is another question I had for you. How do you have time for this? I mean, you have a full-time job. You spend 2 hours in traffic to get there and back, which I'm familiar with. I lived in Los Angeles for a while. You know, how do you find the time? And a kind of a second part of that is, how many people do you have that help you?
Yeah, so, you know, with my day job, I mean, that takes up about 70 hours a week, give or take. But, you know, I work in logistics and transport, and I don't drive the trucks. I drive the desk. So I try to keep everyone happy and motivated to do the job. And sometimes you might have to give someone a bit of a swift kick, and another time you might have to give them a hug. It's all about, you know, motivating and keeping the team going, I suppose. And I really enjoy the atmosphere. It's super challenging, especially, you know, in the current kind of political element that exists in Europe, and you know, with the UK, with Brexit and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, nothing like that here.
Yeah, like it's been many a day left scratching your head thinking, what was it? Why? You know, but look, it is what it is, and it's I wouldn't change it. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but when it comes to like, you know, I would on average maybe 3 hours a night, every other night about 3 hours, and in the early days, I was putting in the same amount of hours, but I wasn't being efficient. You know, Mrs. Twotone is a huge help to me. My wife, you know, she helps me with the show notes and when it comes to planning. You know, I've had a co-manager, co-host, co-friend, whatever title. I've yet to think of one that properly fits Gibbo Ireland for all the help that he's given. And he has streamlined everything that it becomes more efficient. So we can achieve way much more within in the same kind of time frame or time constraints. And Gibbo came across the channel one day just watching the content. He's like, hey, this fella, he seems okay. And,
I figured he was your neighbor or something.
No, not we live on the same island. You know, he's a bit of a drive away, but yeah, no, it's the guidance and just the support that I get from Gibbo it's incredible. And I often think to myself, it's like he's so devoted to this, you know. And it's like there's times I'm saying, you know, I'm gonna go off at the weekend, and what are you up to, man? And he's like, no, I'm editing videos or I'm doing something. I'm like, oh, so am I. I'm going to do that now, you know. Yes. So, but it's brilliant, and it really, really is. But again, anything in terms of, it's not to say that I'm just a guy to flick the switch and hey, and I'll do my thing. I mean, we do work well together, and we bounce the ideas off, and that's, I think, for me, that's what's very, very important. I'll come up with and I have done. I can be very reactionary because, well, so many things change within the sim. As soon as you think you have it figured out, something will change. Either the sim will break, a new add-on will come out, new hardware will come out, or another community are doing something, and there's all of these things to be watching, and that's part of it, and it's fun. It's not about winning; it's about try to hold your pace, you know. But as soon as you have these kind of things done, you need someone to bounce them ideas off. And I come up with mad ideas. You know, I think we should do this. This is a great idea. And if I didn't have Gibbo there to kind of ground me and say, right, Murph, think about it now. Oh yeah, maybe it doesn't work, you know, or he'll come up with an idea himself and we'll trash it out. So it's very much, you know, there's a lot of teamwork there, and you know what Gibbo does in terms of supporting. It's the advantages to me is I'm way more efficient doing everything else, which is it's incredible. It's brilliant. And, you know, as I said, we're good mates over myself and Gibbo. We work very, very well together. And 2 years ago, he was a complete stranger, didn't know him at all, didn't even know about the man. And here we are 2 years later. So that's something else pretty cool as well about, you know, what it is that we do from the flight simming and the content creation.
It's absolutely amazing. And as we say on streams a lot of times, I have not run into many streamers in the flight sim community who are not really open. You know, like you and the Flying Fabio and different streamers that are doing it all the time and doing it in a huge way are doing what you're doing. They're saying, you know, go for it. I think the Flying Fabio was my first follower, and which, you know, that's pretty amazing because he is trying to do. He's trying to do it full time. Does do it full time. You know, needs a big audience. But just the encouragement that all of the different simmers give to people is amazing. I mean, everyone in your community is incredible. The Flying Circus, you know, there's too many people to mention, but they are really, really encouraging. They're constantly dropping in and saying hello. On everyone's stream, you know, on all the different streamers, which is it's really amazing, really incredible community.
The community is amazing, and it's community. Okay, it's a nice word to kind of associate with, you know, a massive bunch of people who are like-minded, who are very genuine and very caring, very friendly, funny. You name it, you've everything in there. And that's kind of, you know, that's when you have to start pinching yourself to make sure you're not in kind of a dream, when you realize that you know you're interacting with so many amazing people, your internet friends, as it were,
right?
And,
right,
which you know, yes. Which is like, hang on, wait, what?
It's very strange. It's something.
Yeah, and again, like making the comparison back to the Flying Fabio, I'm a huge fan of what he does, but even if you were to compare where Fabio is at, whereby he has a lot of experience, real world experience that he brings to the table.
Oh,
he has his own attitude and skills that make it so enjoyable to watch. But I think from my perspective, I see the challenges that I have, and, you know, I have goals and I have ambitions and everything else, but I'm relatively safe in terms of, well, I have a full-time job outside of this. Fabio has focused on this being his full-time job. So when you kind of put that spectrum into it, it really kind of tells you where a guy is at. I mean, he this is his full-time job and he's smashing it. He's doing brilliant things. He's, massive yield with user numbers, and he's keeping things fresh. I can only imagine some of the pressures, I mean, that I would have if this was a full-time gig for me. There's so many different pressures, uncontrollable things you just can't control. You can plan for them, but it's not to say that the industry is volatile, because that gives it kind of like a hostile thing, but it can change so quickly. I mean, the audience, the sim, the platform, even just what's going on in the world, all these outsiding factors can disrupt what it is you're trying to do. And yet, daily, you tune into Fabio, he's just relaxed. He welcomes you in, and it's just another day. And I love that, because for me, I know what goes on in the background, just as you know what goes on in the background, and to be able to like just put that block there and just, it is what it is. Let's just do our thing. You don't get that level of engagement watching a TV show. You don't get that watching reality TV. You know what I mean? You just don't have that there. So when you can see how genuine people are, and you can really kind of see what people are made of, that brings a viewer or a fan or a member or whatever people are so much closer to the person in which they're inspired by, or perhaps a role model or otherwise. No other platform or medium can do that, which is amazing. Absolutely incredible. And when it comes to our viewers or members, the same works in reverse, because I've met people and I've got letters and I've got I've got emails and stuff from people just saying, whatever was going on in their life, good or bad, difficult or easy, they let you know, thanks Murph, or Murph, I didn't like that. I have a few of them as well, but I try to limit them. It's like, okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, Gibbo, right. I'm not allowed to do this again. Just all that. But it's heartwarming and touching, because you're dealing with real people, and it doesn't feel real, especially when you start out. These are on the internet. They're just the internet. This is a game. These are just analytics. These are numbers. They're not. They're absolutely not. They're real people with real emotions. And to be able to engage with people and catch up with them, I mean, who wouldn't want to be doing this? It's amazing. It's fantastic. And long may it last. I mean, I love it.
Oh, no. You just put way more pressure on me. So these are actual people.
They can see you.
They're see me in there. Oh, no.
There's me thinking something was wrong.
So now I'm starting to relax. It's over now. No more camera. So there's a couple other things. This is great. This has been I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's just what I like when I have a bunch of questions and I don't get to them, because obviously I knew you'd have a lot to say.
There's we can do a quick fire round.
We will do. I do have that, actually.
Oh, nice.
I have a quick fire round. But before that, you're really into history and exploring the world in the real world. You go to different parts of Europe and go to museums. And have you always done that? Have you always been like a history nerd, if I can put it that way, or is that just something that you discovered more, as you grew up, or got older? No. You haven't grown up.
I'll never grow up. Well, as much as I like to think I will. No, I'd be like, I don't know. It's when it comes to history, it depends kind of where my focus is. So military history, aviation history, that's all there. Political history is interesting as well. It was nothing that I didn't excel at it. It wasn't a subject in school or, whatever that I tried to learn. I just had an interest in it. And I think with the job that I have, or I had starting off, I've been involved with like the whole transportation industry for a long time. And within doing that sort of job, you develop logical skills, logistics, but you develop these sort of skills. So my memory tends to be fairly sharp, as in I can retain a lot of data, which is great because I can remember stuff. And then, it's if I'm having a discussion with someone, I probably have some sort of a reference somewhere, that I can talk about it. So I might come across as being Murph, as he knows his stuff with history, but you could ask me a question on something that I've never heard of before, and rather than dismiss it, I'll actually go off and learn it because I think it's fascinating, the whole topic of history. And it's a great entry point into history does repeat itself in some way, shape, or form. It always does. It just does. History repeats itself. So, you can live your life thinking, well, don't be focused on the past. You got to be thinking of the future. But without knowing what happened in the past, well, you're just unprepared. And it's not to say you're going to live in panic or worry or otherwise, but history kind of does give you a great indication of what's going to happen in the future. And that can be applied to any part of your life. Any part of your life at all, you can apply that thinking to it. So, living in Ireland, we have a huge history-rich environment here. Being an island, there's just thousands of years of history here. And one of the only countries in Europe, in fact, that wasn't conquered even by the Romans. They had a look at the weather and they're like, "Nah, we're not. No, it's okay, lads.
That's fine. You keep that. That's good."
And the Vikings liked the place so much they stayed here. So it's Ireland is quite unique because the history of it was all kind of tribes and different things, and it wasn't necessarily a nation until way later on. Then it became kind of unified and all this sort of jazz. And there's a lot of history there between ourselves and the United Kingdom and England and Europe, and it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. And there's everything there from the countryside is littered, if you like, littered with castles and old buildings, walls, different settlements, and it's amazing. And a lot of them are open. A lot of them are actually untouched. You can just walk into someone's field. That's a weird looking building. So there's a lot of that here. But then I think Ireland is, as I said, we're a small little island, and Ireland has this kind of name for itself. Apart from it's, we like a couple of pints of Guinness. Don't get me wrong, but
so you do drink Guinness?
You have to. It's on your passport.
It's my favorite.
But no, I think being from Ireland, we always try to punch above our weight in everything that we do, because we kind of have the sense of we're a small little nation, but we're a friendly one. So there's many things, in fact, that we try to excel at, and even like some of the most basic things in aviation. A lot of that stuff kind of started here, and you're thinking, hang on, how did that happen? Like the first flight, from the west to the east. No, from the east to the west. There you go. I know. Yeah,
one of those.
It's that way, right? But the first flight took off from Ireland with an Irish pilot and two German lads, and fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating stuff. So, being exposed in a country that is history rich, you're going to have some sort of an interest in it. The same with sport and music, and like any other country, it's there if you want to see it. And it rains here quite a lot, so you have to kind of stay inside and do something. So you might as well pick up an old history book. Yes. But I love it. And like for me, my biggest passion would be the likes of Roman history. Love it, absolutely love it. We've been to Rome a number of times. It's my absolute favorite city in the world, and every time we go there, we find something new and discover something new, and it's absolutely incredible. I love anything to do with Roman history. It's just, that's it. I'll sit down now. I might have a glass of wine, and I'm all yours.
It's a really nice. It's really fun to see that on the Twitch. When you go there and you show us pictures of your trips and talk about the different places you've seen. That's a lot of that. That adds a lot. I always enjoy that. It's really fun.
Well, it's a thing as well. With some of the flights we've done, and it's another element that I really like. When we did the 7 World Wonders, that was amazing because different viewers had either visited those areas or actually from those countries, and they're able to share the local knowledge, if you like, or their experiences with you. So the sim has a way of kind of bridging these gaps, and in particular at a time in which travel just isn't what it used to be. It's quite difficult, and it's people are worried about traveling, and there's not much going on. And this sim or game or whatever way people call it has enabled us to travel, at least virtually. But think about it. You can travel for free. You can kind of see a virtual representation of what it actually looks like, but you're speaking to people who are either from there or who have visited there. That's a fantastic experience. I mean, the only thing you haven't done is physically stood foot in that country and experienced it in real time. You've done everything else. So that's incredible.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm going down the coast of Mexico right now, and Baja, Mexico, on my way to the Amazon on my Sunday cruise, and Dougal McTavish comes along and says, "Yeah, I took a boat down here. I took a boat down here, and we moored right here." And I just totally randomly picked these airports. I'm literally going on the map and saying, "Well, we can stop here." It's basically they're patches of dirt because it's Baja, Mexico. And he's like, "Yeah, I went to all these places, and there's this restaurant here, and we lost our motor." It was just amazing. It's just that kind of stuff. Where people pop in and they're, I've been here. It's absolutely amazing.
It's so funny, right? You'll be in a bar next year or in 20 years, you'll be having a pint and someone will walk in and they'll mention Baja and you'll sit there and you'll go, I knew a guy who had a boat. And Baja.
Exactly. Oh, that was one of my questions too. That reminds me of something. Have you ever thought about, this crosses my mind sometimes. Like, have you ever thought about, well, how am I ever going to stop doing this? How long? I mean, is this just going to go on indefinitely? Will I be doing this? Will it be 100?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't know why that.
I can imagine. Once I get to the age, hopefully in a long, long time, there will be a part of the stream that I'll have to go away for a nap. And I'm just about to have my nap. Wake me up in 45 minutes. But no, I think as long as you can stay disciplined to say only do what you enjoy to do, it'll never be work. It just won't be work. And I suppose as well, if it does feel that maybe the candle is getting a little bit dim, or it's going out, it's knowing that, well, take a step back, or change it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll ever get quiet or I'll ever get tired, if you like, of talking with people and interacting with them. That's just something I love to do. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it's burnout is there. I mean, you have got to be very aware of it. I mean, if you're trying to push yourself, because you're trying to chase down numbers, or you want to get more subscribers, or you want to get more likes on a video, that's not a good way to be, because you have very little control over it. But yes, there are things you can do, but ultimately you're just going to be jaded. The sooner you realize just do what you want to do for fun, the longer you're going to do it.
I think that's the best advice. I hope people who are new to streaming get this far in the podcast, because that's the best advice. I try and give that to anyone. There's people asking me what to do, and I'm just starting. I mean, I look at, I occasionally look at my numbers, every stream. And I'm like, okay, when this gets, when I have doubled this, I'm going to feel a bigger weight. I already feel like a slightly bigger weight, but that's just it. I mean, I constantly remind myself, okay, just keep doing what I love, because it's the streams that I do stuff that I'm really enjoying that, seem to have more people just pop in and seem to get overloaded with, more stuff happens when you're having fun. More happens.
Absolutely. And it's, again, like, I think the biggest thing for anyone starting out, you got to get a schedule. And to say that, I'll stream every other day, or I might start or I mightn't start, that's, you're on a hiding to nothing. It's very hard to get growth if you're trying to do things that way. Whereby if you give yourself a bit of a routine and make it simple, it could be once a week, it could be once a month. But once people know, without fail, you're going to show up, you're going to get people coming in. Because I mean, what I'm doing now, when I started my slot, if you like, I was doing the whole 8 o'clock thing 3 days a week. I was aware that there was other people, streaming, and I was like, okay, well, I'll try and do my thing. And it's brilliant, the amount of people who tune in. Like, it's fantastic. But if I have less viewers, that really doesn't impact on what I'm doing. It's nice to see, and it's a great feeling to think, wow, there's so many people either interested in what I'm doing, or they're quietly laughing to themselves about me. It's one or the other, they either like you or hate you, but hey, a view is a view. But like, as long as they're getting some sort of enjoyment, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. But so long as the streamer is enjoying what they're doing, you'll keep doing it. And again, it's important, just get a schedule, because as soon as you change it, and I've tested this, as I said, it rains a lot in Ireland. I have time to test things. if you go outside of those streaming times that people are used to seeing you, there's an impact. If you go outside of the sort of content that you do, there's an impact. So there's a couple of things to consider, and you know, it's been fantastic either way. It even gets down to the type of aircraft or the type of country I'm going to fly on a stream. That'll affect the numbers. So, you know, you can stay super analytical and keep an eye on all the numbers and let that be your focus. It's not going to do you any good. It's going to drive you dement. You'll be nuts. That's it. You'll be of no use. They'll start asking you what time it is, and you will become the talking clock. That'll be it. You'll be no more use for anything else in life. So never worry about the viewers. There are sometimes you might have to say, right, I've changed my type of content, or, you know, if it was yourself, you know, you're used to flying with a chopper, and here you are tonight flying a boat. Or you're not even in a flight sim. It's boat simulator. We're going to try that tonight.
Boat simulator, truck simulator. Yes.
Yes, you know, but that's when you want to look at the viewers, because you're going to say, right, well, who of the core audience stayed? Okay. And you know, did I attract more or did I just lose? They're the numbers you look at. And it's fun to do that because, you know, you're diversifying what you're doing, but at the same time, you don't want to alienate your own community. So you got to be careful. And again, this advice or my opinion, if you like, that I'm sharing, I've learned this after the fact. And now I have Gibbo now to say, hey, Murph, remember that? Oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff you'll figure out yourself by doing, and that's part of it. But you just want to take a couple of things on board as well. Don't get focused on numbers. They won't do anything for you. They mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. Just do what you do, which feels right and keeps you happy. And as long as you do that, it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. You'll keep doing what you want to do. I know people who stress, I don't know where to fly tonight. You know, I don't know what aircraft I'm going to do. And I'm under pressure. And it's like, hey, just turn on the sim. Do something. What do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? Well, I thought I might check it. Just do it. And then they end up having a great night. And that's what it's all about. And, this is about flight sim I'm talking about. This could be anything. People have just chatting. People have even podcasts, I'm sure. Like, there's topics you're just not going to perhaps discuss unless you have some sort of an interest there. Because, well, you don't want to be uncomfortable in a situation where it could be negative. And how does that come across to people? No one wants to hear that. Unless, it's like The Office, or you're going for the sarcastic kind of a comedy side of things, So yeah, there's a lot there, to how do you manage to keep on track of all of this? Forget all the buzzwords, forget the science, just do what you feel is right and it makes you happy, and forget about the numbers. That's it.
I think that's the best advice. I try and give myself this advice every
so do I.
Every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I try to say, hey, give it a break. Really, it's not a big deal. You don't even need to look at that. But I'm not there yet. Perhaps I'll get there one day. Oh, wow. All right, well, let's do a lightning round. I don't always do this, but I do have some fun questions, and yours will be slightly different because I've watched you a lot. That is really good advice for podcasters, though, because one of the reasons I haven't done it for a while, not only have I been really tied up getting this stream thing going, Flights with Joel on Twitch, thank you, but I've been discouraged by what's happening in the world. There are certain subjects I will talk about them, and I will probably piss off everyone, that's watching. Yeah. That's just not what I'm interested in. There's enough people out there doing that. I don't want to become like a talking head type podcast. This is way more interesting to me to talk to someone that's interesting, fun, has a cool thing going on, has a great personality, and likes planes, so that's the main thing. Which was my next question. What is your favorite plane? Or let's narrow this down. What's your favorite plane today?
In the sim or like just in general?
Both. Let's take it both real and then in the sim.
Okay. There's so many, Joel. We'll be here till next Tuesday. I think one of the best aircraft now in the sim is the Kodiak by Simmer Studios. It's incredible. Really having fun with that. Outside of that, it's you're looking at the Just Flight fleet. They're absolutely awesome. And if you want to look at some of the default ones from the Asobo lineup, I think the Junkers is incredible. The JU-52, that's a lot of fun. Even the Cessna 172 and the TBM, I mean, they're always going to be lifelong favorites. When it comes to the choppers, I love the Bell 47 and I love the H145. They're great fun, and they're getting better and better as they go. So yeah, the sim has a lot of offerings. There's an absolute ton of stuff on the way for next year and the year after, and so on and so on. There'll be too many, which is a great thing for us. In the real world, you know, I've always had a soft spot for the C47 or DC3, same plane. But like the C47 for me, that's like, wow, you know, always loved that. When it comes to, I suppose, a little bit more modern, I do really like, it's called a Fuga Magister, a French designed aircraft. It was a fighter trainer, but it had a V-tail. And it was used over here by the Irish Air Corps. And I grew up around these things. I mean, I remember the pilots. I knew the team pilots who had the Silver Swallows aerobatic display team. I used to play football with them. I was only a kid, but I used to play football with these guys. So I remember all the chat. Like, that was like living real life Top Gun for me back then, you know?
Well, yeah.
And I remember looking at all the different maneuvers they were doing, but how the guys actually worked and communicated with each other, I thought it was fascinating. And that had a big impact on me growing up. I was like, hang on, this is what can be achieved by working together with people. This is amazing. And then you move it on, I suppose, to some of the more modern aircraft in the real world. The Kodiak is a beautiful plane, the Kodiak 100, as it's TBM. I mean, you know, if I was going to buy a plane, it's probably going to be one of those. They're absolutely fantastic. So, yeah.
Those are, yeah. I mean, I've been fans of those planes long before the flight simulator. Whoops. Trying to figure out how to free up that money for the Kodiak. I'll just say.
But I'm going to buy the wheel this year, and then next year, you know, I'll buy a light. You know?
That'd be nice if they maybe. Yeah. Do they do layaway at these companies? Yeah. Yeah. A layaway plan. And this is not part of my normal questions, but since it's the holiday season, Die Hard, Christmas movie.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Welcome to the party.
Yes. And now we have a chopper. Now we have a real chopper. Oh, one big thing coming for 2022, helicopters.
Yeah. The official
choppers, which I hope will actually make a big difference. I think it'll make a lot of things easier to do, because they are doing things, they're working miracles with the 47 and the 145, and they've now made the 145 so realistic I don't want to download the latest build. That's another story.
Yeah, I think there's a huge element there from Microsoft on Asobo, whereby you might get the idea that they're dragging their heels a little bit by implementing choppers, but they have a huge risk, because by natively supporting helicopters, by their very virtue, they're going to get up close and personal to scenery, which is streamed, you know, the photogrammetry and all of this, whereby it'll kind of show you the spots and warts. And, you know, the closer you get to the thing, it's all wrinkly and not nice looking at all. There's a lot of that, you know. So it is risky business for them. So I don't know, are they going to try and develop certain areas that are going to be designed specifically for choppers, which they might. I mean, that's a safe way of doing it, because they can't apply that to the whole planet. But you can still use the aircraft in the whole planet. But I would like to see if there was something going to be developed whereby it has just helicopter flying like the Reno Air Race. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
That has a very specific environment to operate these aircraft in. Because I think for the choppers, that could be landing on vessels. You know, it could be landing on buildings. But there are a number of kind of headaches between that happening now. I mean, a lot of the buildings they're not a physical frame. You can fly through them. A lot of the boats, you know, so there is a bit of that, but yeah.
Oh, we know, we try every building, boat. Can you land on that? we are the testers.
Have you tried the South African scenery from Orbex? Is it Johannesburg, I think?
Oh, no, I haven't. I've got Sydney and
Cape Town. Sorry,
Cape Town. Oh, Cape Town. No, I haven't got that. I should. But
lots of boats to land on.
Lots of okay. Because a lot of their scenery, the buildings are hollow. But I mean, if you really, I'll be honest, LA is a helicopter playground because all of the helipads in LA are solid, which I discovered long before anyone had a helicopter. I discovered that with the X-Cub. It's like, are these solid? I gotta see, because I spent a lot of time in LA, so I knew that every building. I think it was every building over 11 stories or something. They just got rid of that. It was for fires and emergencies. And I guess by now they've figured out, well, we've had one, and since we put that into place, and the contractors think it's expensive, of course. Helicopter pilots thinks it's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure that's why there was a helipad on the top of Fox Tower to do Die Hard, because you had to have one. So, I don't know if they used it after the movie or not. Anyway, yeah. So there are so many places to fly already. My thought was, I looked at the survey they did last year. I forgot who does it, but there's a company that puts out a flight simulator survey to anyone who will go fill it out. I should put that in the show notes. So I looked at that last year, and it was for all simulators, and the chopper community was minuscule. It was buses, big planes was by far the majority. And then eventually it got to GA. GA was down the list. It was like lower than fighter planes or whatever. It was way down there. And then helicopters were the teeniest little part. So I'm sure that made a difference to them, had an impact on what they thought they needed to do, because it is a very, I think of it as, well, it's aerodynamics. It's the same. But when I pay attention and listen to what they do to get aerodynamics to work, I understand that it's not the same to simulate a spinning disc as it is just a plain old wing. And I didn't realize they weren't simulating the propellers properly either. I didn't know that, because they mentioned that. Someone caught that. Like, oh, the propellers are going to get better because now you're going to have to make air moving through a spinning disc to make a helicopter. So that was very interesting. I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. That's a good thing. Anyway, looking forward to it. And I like flying all the planes. So
no, it's great. Yeah. And again, like with the choppers, I mean, that's a niche within a niche inside two other niches. It's fantastic, But,
exactly.
It's kind of like where do we go with this? It's like, there's still a wish list. Someone's looking for trains. It's like, get out of here. We want choppers and planes first. Hey, bring back trains. Get out
number
with your
two.
Trains.
Choppers is number 2. Obviously, they don't go in order because it's number 2 on the list, which was pretty shocking. Okay, let's do not the lightning round, because that's Twotonemurphy. We'll do the questions, end of podcast questions, and these are for anybody. So here you go. Do you like turtles?
Turtles, yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I think of sea turtles because I like to go to Hawaii and snorkel. So, nice. Ever thought about doing a podcast? We already answered that earlier. But,
kind of.
Yeah, you'd be really good at a podcast. Do you believe in luck?
Yes.
Yes, me too. Social media, good, bad.
It's bad at being good, and it's really good at being bad. So it's necessary.
Oh, that's one of the best answers I've had. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite podcast?
I do. I can tell you.
Yes, you can. You can say, yeah. Well, let us support. What is it?
Well, of course, Joel, it's this. But I listen to a lot of podcasts. And there's one I listen to almost every day, and it's by a chap called Scott Smith, and it's called The Daily Boost. And I find that to be very helpful. It kind of gives you a compass. Oh yeah, you're going this direction. I find it good.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Have you bought any new furniture lately?
Yes.
It's very telling, right?
There's a shelf in the. Yes, I did.
It's and obviously for your stream room. You bought it for the stream room. What's the last thing you bought online?
Tickets to a thing. I can't say it publicly because it's a present.
All right. That's Oops.
It's grand. By the time this comes out, she's going to Foster and Allen.
I'm sure I'm curious about this one. Broken any laws lately?
Broken any laws? Aren't they there to be kind of broke? You know, it's like, where's the fun not breaking them? No, I don't think so. I'm one of those people, you know, if I see a car parked crookedly obstructing the line, I'm frowning internally. I'm like, that's so bad. They shouldn't do that. You know, if I see someone drop like trash out the window of a car, it's like road rage follows, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's there's so many laws. Yeah, probably.
Probably. We probably all have. Have you ever wanted to do something else for a living besides your day job?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Many different things.
What was one of them?
Well, I always thought it was going to be a pilot for a long time. And then, you know, when I was much, much younger and I was working, I started making money, and I really liked making money. I thought this was great. You know, I just got to like do this and you guys give me money for it. This is easy. So, you know, I started working, getting a job. And I like that more than a lot of things. I was like, no, I like making this money because I'm going to spend it on cool things, you know, parties and, you know, whatever. And
parties, parties.
Yeah, I kind of got distracted a little bit from Murph. You got to be studying this, and you know, and get the points to do. It's fine. And then I said, okay, well, I'll go a different way to get into flying. And it was from a military background, and I always thought I was going to be in the military. Dad was in the military, his dad, and so on and so on and so on. There's a huge heritage of military service there, going back generations, lots and lots of them. And I did do a little bit, but that ended abruptly when I jumped out of a plane, and I broke a couple of bones, and that kind of put me on the.
Yeah.
It's grand though. Everything turned out okay, you know. I keep telling myself.
You're still here, still in one piece.
As I cry myself to sleep.
You're still young. You could still do professional pilots. I hear there's a pilot shortage.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've been hearing that for 20 years. I have a pilot's license, but I didn't get it. I just did it because it's something I had to do in my life. So I've been hearing for 20 years, there's a pilot shortage. And it's probably this way in Ireland too. But in America, you have to become a pauper for years if you want to go into being a professional bus driver. Now, you can fly freight, which is a different field, or you can do small aircraft and starve for your entire life, especially flying helicopters. So it wasn't like I wasn't really drawn to that. But now, because of what's happening in the airline industry, there's a real live pilot shortage. A lot of pilots said, forget it. A lot of pilots in the last 2 years have just retired, basically, because they're all old and we didn't have a good war. And, you know.
Well,
it's early yet. Go for it.
But here's the thing with the sim as well. You know, aviation in Ireland, there's very little demand for it in terms of, you know, comparing to what the US, you know, and Canada and even England have, because
China.
It's a small island, you know, and the weather doesn't really. It's not to say that we have terrible weather, but like Ireland has very unique weather. It's either raining, sunny, hot, cold, windy, or calm at the same time. You know, it's one thing. You know, but you know, in the States, flying and aviation, it's almost normal. As in, it's considered just a mode of transport. Over here, that would be very specialized. That's very you know, that's the most advanced mode, if you like, of transportation. So it's very different. But I think, and this is where the hope is, with something like Microsoft Flight Sim, and they releasing it onto the console, onto the Xbox console, they're going to introduce millions. The masses are now going to be introduced potentially into a hobby they never thought they had, or it could, in fact, inspire the next generation of real-world pilots, which is a good thing, because if you look at it, there are very kind of, you know, KPIs to show, well, the vast majority of general aviation pilots, or even is what it's called over there, is a Part 41 or Part 47. They're of a particular age, but they only tend to be getting older. There's not much new people coming into it, and then something like the with COVID, it's like, well, how many pilots are grounded, out of a job, end of story. And so a lot of them came into what we do in live streaming. We've tons of them. Because they're not.
This is
hours.
Another thing that blows my mind is that there are so many people that fly with me that are real helicopter pilots, or they're real pilots, or someone, or a lot of the people, fellow streamers, are real world, CDL, Ford to Learn to Fly, Flying Fabio. They're all real world teachers. Like this is what they are doing for their job. It's amazing. I don't think it was that way before. I didn't see a lot of people on the YouTube who had that kind of experience. It doesn't seem like, it just doesn't, it seemed like it's really blown up. 10 best reasons to come on this podcast.
Well, say hello, first of all. I mean, I've had the pleasure and privilege of getting to see it on camera before when we worked on the DC-6, and that was a lot of fun. And I must compliment you on the fantastic white shirt and hat. They were amazing. And I was like, I need one of them. Where does the man buy his clothes? We have nothing like that here. It's all dark clothes and dull, and and maybe a bit of green. That's all we have. But look, a podcast for me, or I'm not used to this. Usually I do my own thing and I'll be chatting to people, and that I like that very much. This is quite unique for me. I have done other bits and bobs over the year, maybe with having a catch up with Willie Canuck. But God, to give you 10 reasons, well,
no, that's okay. It's not a real question.
I'd probably get there.
So I thought you might just knowing you, I thought you might come up with something. But it's one of those parts of having a podcast. I mean, being able to meet someone, that you usually I haven't interacted with the person for 10 months or whatever it's been. I mean, I watched you months before I had a stream, and so in most cases I don't have that much of an idea who the person even is, and it was fun to go, oh, who is this guy? And there's an about page on his website. Oh, he has a name. His name's not Twotone. I'll be darned. Anyway, moving on. So, do you believe in talent?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
it's not to like shoot down people's dreams, but certain people are born with a certain something, okay, and it's raw talent, which is always grand. And there are those then who have to work very, very hard and to get the same kind of skills. So it's not to say you have to be born with it. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I just think there are those who are born with a something versus those who have to work very hard to get that something. And I keep hitting my microphone. It doesn't matter what that is. We're very articulate speakers, Joel. I mean, we use our hands.
We've both hit our mics a few times.
But I do think people are born with something. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I even think that working hard is a talent. I think there are some people that can work that are harder workers, and that's a talent. That's that 90% perspiration thing. Do you think there's something after this?
I hope so. Do like maybe a cup of tea and a bun or something?
I knew that's where you would go with it.
But I do hope so. It's there's the whole discussion over everything, but take one step back from having that discussion. I'm one of those who would think, well, I hope there is. That's kind of the best way to put it. I don't particularly mind what it is, but I hope there is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe it's just ourselves living on in the ether.
Could be.
That's something. That's still something. Well, this has been fantastic. I'm going to wrap it up now so we can you can get back to your life and plan the next flight, because I'm sure you have to. I want to thank you so much for coming on. This has really been great. And this has been. Were you still talking? This is Joel Albrecht, and my guest today has been Robin Murphy, otherwise known as Twotonemurphy. You can see his flights on Twitch every day. Well, you can watch him every day, but if you want to see him live, he does also streams live 3 times a week. I forgot to ask him about the wig, but check him out on Fridays, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
You can't explain it.
There will be a link to I'll just link to his website in the description. That'll be the best way. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, the best way to share the love, if you like this podcast, is just tell people about it. Put it on your social media, share a link somewhere, or tell a friend. Just say, hey, I listened to this amazing podcast today. I don't know about the coast, but this guest was incredible. And really appreciate you listening. I will hopefully be back much sooner this time. I will not take such a long break. And as I always say, be good to each other and be good to yourself. And we're out, as they say in the biz.
That was amazing.
Hit this.